I've had a lot of questions recently of people asking me, yo, Anthony, how do you color grade? So today we're going to be talking about just that. You might be wondering, what's with the new background? So basically, I'm back in London. I took my long journey back a couple of days ago. I'm here to see family and also doing a bunch of cool stuff, but you'll see that coming soon. So as I said, today we're going to be talking about color grading. Color grading is an essential part of every filmmaker's toolkit. It's a great way of enhancing footage and just giving it a final dusting and making it look much more cinematic. So there's a couple more things I want to run over with this tutorial before I get into kind of how to do the color grading and how to do it inside of Premiere. So the first thing I want to run through is just being subtle about your color grading and not overdoing it. Color grading is a way of really just doing a final touch to your shot to make it look that much better. When I color grade, my shots are already looking pretty good. I just give it a final touch just to make it look that much better, make the colors pop, or maybe give it a different look. So the second thing I want to run through as well is really about codecs and the camera you're shooting on, because this is going to vary from camera to camera and from codec to codec. So I'm specifically talking about my camera, which is the Sony a7S II, and I alternate between two camera profiles. I alternate between Cine 2 and I alternate between S-Log 2 as well. So I use S-Log 2 when I'm in a very sunny environment, high contrast, just so I can get the extra dynamic range. And I use Cine 2 in most other situations. Cine 2 is a great profile because I like the look that it gives you straight out of the camera, whereas S-Log 2 takes a little more work. So this is just how I do it. It doesn't mean you need to do it this way. I just think this is a really great technique to use if you just want to improve the look of your shots that much more. So what I generally use when I'm color grading is, first of all, I correct the shot if it needs correcting. Like if the shadows are too low, I'll bring them up. If the highlights are too high, I bring them down slightly. And then I add on top of it what's called a lookup table or a LUT. A LUT is basically a color grading preset that you put over the footage to give it a certain tone and a certain look. So there's two types of LUT packs that I like to use. One is called Impulse and the other one is called Bounce Color. I'll post the LUTs in the description where you can go and download them. But the type of LUT I use depends on the feel that I'm going for. In this tutorial, I'm going to be using Premiere Pro and Lumetri to color grade these shots. We're going to go into the editing program right now. I'm going to show you exactly how I do it. So now we are in Adobe Premiere. I have my 3 shots right about here. And first we're going to start off with this shot here, which is a shot I go in Colombia. We're on the balcony and we had this beautiful skyline right here. Now, as you can see, this shot is very high contrast. And so what I want to do is kind of emphasize the shadows here to bring out this beautiful skyline that we have here. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to basic correction in Lumetri. And I'm just going to drop the shadows a touch, not too much, just so I can bring out this background here. So drop the black slightly. Yeah, that's good. Again, really subtle. We don't want too much here. We just want to give it a nice look. So the first thing you always do, as I said, is correct the basics before you start on doing any LUTs. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. So once you've corrected the shot, all you do is you go to Creative, go to Look, click Browse, find the directory where your LUTs are. In this case, we're going to be using the Bounce Color LUTs, Bounce Color Cinema, Universal, and I know these say S-Log 2, but these are also very good for the Cine 2 and Cine 4 profiles. So let me select Cinema 1. Obviously, one thing we need to do, this is way too intense. One thing about color grading, as I was mentioning before, is that you need to be very subtle with it. So this is way too much. We need to bring this down. I recommend putting it to about 20 or 30. So yeah, this looks a lot nicer. And if we click the little FX button here, we can see what it looked like before and what it looks like now. Before, after. There you go. The colors are popping and this looks way better. So the next shot we're going to be looking at is this one right here. This was shot in Tenerife, and Aside from the first shot, this was actually shot in S-Log2, so it's got higher dynamic range and there's a little less color in here. So what we're going to do is we're probably going to do a similar thing, adjust whatever we need to adjust here first, and then add a LUT and see how it looks. So what I'm going to do first is I want to bring out the detail in these rocks a little bit more. So I'm going to drop the shadows slightly and just see what we can get here. Looks good. And I might push up the white slightly. But yeah, it's all about playing around and seeing what looks best. So yeah, I think this shot is looking pretty good now. So we're going to go to creative. We're going to click browse and we're going to add a LUT to this. So usually what I do, I work through the ones that look the best. So I just see how they all look. So I go to this one again. Let's drop the intensity down to about 25. That's looking very nice. And what we can always do is go back to the way it looked before just to see the difference. That's looking really nice. Let's try a few other LUTs and see how it looks. Let's try this one. Again, a different look. Still looks very nice. Let's try this one. That looks very nice as well. Whatever look you're going for, just pick the one that looks the best to you and what mood you're going for as well. I'm going to pick Cinema 1. I think that looks great. Yeah. So that's that shot finished. And then the final shot I have is a shot that I got in London, actually, in a studio. And this was shot on a red Scarlet W. And obviously with this image, we're going to be able to play around with it a lot more because this was shot in a RAW format. So this shot is already looking very good. What I'm thinking of doing is just dropping the shadows slightly. But aside from that, I don't think I'm going to play around with this too much. But I am going to add a LUT to it because I want to accentuate these colors here. So yeah, what I'm going to do, I'm going to drop the shadows first. A touch. To bring out the detail. You can already see that's looking a lot better. Maybe bump the highlights up slightly. And yeah, that's looking good. I don't want to play with that, around with it too much. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's what I always say. And then this time we're going to go to red because this was shot on a red. Let me try Cinema 1 and work through, see what looks the best. That's looking very nice. See, we have the orange and teal look here, which is very popular in the filmmaking world today. That's looking very nice. Let's try a few others. Cinema 2. See, we got a different color palette now. So whatever look you're going for, just roll with it. Let's try this one. That's looking very nice as well. Let's try one more. Oh, that's looking very, very nice. See, I like the look of this, but it's all personal preference. So it's very simple. As you just seen, I just do little corrections on the basic correction tab, usually playing around with the shadows and the highlights. And then I go to the creative tab, I add a LUT, I reduce the intensity if needed, and you're finished with this. And that's how I color grade. I hope that answers some of the questions that you guys had. That was my tutorial on color grading. Post a comment if you have any questions, or alternatively, you can DM me on Instagram. If you want to check out some of my other work as well, go check out the Passport Heavy channel. I'll put the link in the description. That's where a lot of my work goes, and we got lots more coming soon, so stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.